This podcast is sponsored by Dis-Chem Living Fit, with a wide range of health products and supplements tailored to your needs. Whatever your needs are, whatever stage in your health and fitness journey you're in, Dis-Chem Living Fit has the products for you. Back to the show. Mr. Roarke Knapp, bro, welcome and thank you so much for being on the show.
Appreciate it, bro. Been waiting for the invite for some time, so I'm grateful to be here.
Awesome. Well, I think, you started obviously coming out into boxing with, making a big name for yourself. But I think you've definitely established yourself as a big name in the industry now. And you've really got some amazing fights, under your name. You've made people look silly. You've made good people look average. So I think I'm excited to see, where you go from this.
Yeah, bro. I appreciate the kind words. We've been at this for a long time now. People only think, people now, because I'm making noise, people think, I've just been on the scene, bro. I've been a professional for a long time now, and only now am I in a great position where I'm able to have some sort of influence and, create a bit of a buzz around it. So I'm just grateful to be in that position, at all, completely. So, yeah, we've been at it for a long time. I turned pro, I think I was 17 when I turned pro.
And now how old are you?
25. I just turned 25. So I've been at it for some time now. Chipping away at it, staying in the game, staying consistent, and now we're in a place where I never thought we'd be in. So taking full advantage and holding on with both hands as tight as possible.
You say you're in a place you never thought you'd be in. So then, was your purpose for getting into boxing not to be great? Obviously, that's everyone's goal, but what was your main reason starting out then?
Look, I always loved boxing. Whether it was watching it as a kid. To be very honest with you, I never actually wanted to compete as a kid. I was always very scared, intimidated by it. But I always loved the sport as a whole. I used to watch it with my dad growing up. And it wasn't until I started getting bullied as a lighty. That's how I started it. So my love for boxing was always there. I never ever thought that I would start boxing, Back to your question, when I did start, I started as an amateur, got a little bit of a few fights under my belt. And then it was such a waste of time going to amateurs, spending hours traveling, money traveling, and then having nothing to show for it. I wouldn't even get matched up. I wouldn't even have fights. So I ended up having 4 amateur fights, and then I turned pro for the sake of turning pro. It was quite cool to be a professional fighter. The status of being a professional fighter, coming from a football background, it was completely unheard of in my family. So I turned pro, and I was like, let's have a crack. Let's see where we go with this. Maybe a regional title, maybe a few pro bouts under my name, and then call it a day, go on with the next step of my life. And one fight after another just went completely different level, and now we're here. So it wasn't that I was shooting myself in the foot and aiming low. I had aspirations, but like I said, when you dream of things and you surpass those things, it's a shock. So like I said, I didn't think I would be here, but I am. So now if I can get you, hey, there's no reason why I can't go even further.
So starting out, getting into the boxing training for being bullied, that's actually something I want to obviously talk about as well is, a lot of these great fighters, a lot of these people that are in positions of success had, some rocky footsteps growing up. With your experience personally, and then obviously witnessing it with other fighters, do you see the more successful fighters are almost better because of them having a difficult childhood or, being in situations that obviously aren't great for a kid to be in?
Yeah, sure. That's a valid point to make. I can't say yes and I can't say no, because obviously it depends on that person and that individual. I've seen fighters come from privileged backgrounds, have everything they ever wanted and needed, yet they are some of the most popular fighters and successful fighters on the planet. And equally, I've seen the same, with fighters coming from the ghetto with nothing. I suppose it gives them more incentive. I remember my first title fight, that's a great example to use, is when I fought for this IBO, it was the IBO Youth World title. And I fought a guy called Simon Dudler, who was from the streets of Joburg. Like the real deep streets, like the ghetto. And his whole build-up and his whole motivation was that I'm from such a good background and such a better class of living than he is. He's from the streets, he's from the slums, So there's no ways I'll ever be able to beat him. There's no ways I'll win the fight. You know, he'll smash me, apparently. That's what he was saying, because he's from the streets. How could I possibly be as hard and as tough as him because he's from the streets? And it's like, it doesn't make a difference. It really doesn't make a difference. If it's in you, it's in you. If it's not, it's not. It doesn't matter where you're from. Long story short, I ended up beating him. But my point is, it can be great incentive to get out of the slums and to get out and get into a better life, but it doesn't always mean, and it doesn't always promise that you're going to be great. It's much of a muchness. Perfect example, Conor Ben came from a lavish lifestyle, and he says it many times. You know, a lavish lifestyle, had everything he wanted, and he's one of the top fighters on the planet. So yes and no. I do believe it's great incentive. For me, being bullied was just a way in. Was my, you know, that's what opened the door to boxing. It wasn't because I was from the streets or anything like that. And it didn't make me any hard. Look, I was scared to go to boxing. You know, I wasn't like, I'm going to go and learn to defend myself. I had no choice. My dad pushed me into the gym and said, off you go, you know, and one thing happened from the next. So, yeah, it's much of a muchness. I believe it depends on the individual, in all honesty.
Well, the rapper, I don't know if you know Lil Dicky. Anyway, so
I don't, bro. I'm not gonna lie, I don't.
So Lil Dicky's got a song with Snoop Dogg, and to your point, there's a part where in the thing he says, you know, I grew up in privilege, but I still want to be part of something that is, you know, over the history of time, you know, hip hop and rap music has been underprivileged people and underprivileged communities that obviously started hip hop. Yeah. So he said, I've got something to prove coming from something from privilege. So I think all it is that piece inside of you that's like, I want to prove myself.
Yeah, exactly.
From privilege or from underprivilege.
100%. And, you know, even in saying that, like, the idea of, like, specifically with boxing, you know, when you talk about people that don't have a choice and then they box because they've got no choice, it's their only way out, versus a person who has a choice and decides to box because you've done it, you've seen what it's like, you've been in there and you've competed. Doesn't matter what level you've competed at, getting punched in the face is not a normal thing. It's not a nice thing. Why would you want to do that? Yes, obviously you have your different reasons, but if you've got a choice, you clearly, the better idea is to go away from it and do something that's easier or
in life, fight or flight, it's easier to run away.
100%. So with that being said, you tell me who's more dangerous and who's more someone to worry about, someone that has a choice and decides to do it, or someone who has no choice and does it. For me, the person that decides to do something as crazy as, not even just boxing, as a mixed martial artist or combat sports as a whole, someone that decides to put themselves through that, I would be more worried about that person. You know what I'm saying? Because like you said, they've also got that point to prove that they don't have to come from nothing to be something. It's because it's in them. It's in them as an individual. So for me, whether you're from the streets or not, you got a point to prove, you're going to prove that point if it's inside you.
And it's an equal playing field for people with desire.
Yeah.
Regardless of your upbringing, of your privilege or whatever, it's the desire. It boils down to how hard you're willing to work, how much you're willing to sacrifice, and what you're willing to go through to reach your goal. Yeah. And in reaching your goal, you're going to put yourself in positions of privilege and underprivilege.
Yeah.
You know, at the end of the day, working towards something, you are regardless of how much money you had growing up with your parents or your family, to be a professional boxer, that person who maybe has nothing went through the exact same training, the exact same setbacks as you did to get where you are, irrespective of, you know, when you're in that ring, those 10 rounds are 10 rounds for the rich person or the poor person. It doesn't matter.
It's all the same. And it's also like when we talk about, you know, the motivations of why certain people box and certain people don't, and that, you'd said it perfectly. When we're in there and we're in that squared circle, I mean, if you got 2 legs and 2 arms and you breathe oxygen, you're a fair game. I don't care where you're from. You can be from the harshest, roughest background possible, and I could be from, you know, the Hamptons, for example, somewhere where it's lavish. I got everything I needed, you know, soft life, soft growing up. If I'm built like that, then I'm built like that. Like I said, if you breathe oxygen and you got 2 arms, 2 legs, crack on. Fair game. We get on with it. Because like you said, it's the same 3 minutes. It's just, we're in here together now. Now we're going to see what it's about. So that's also the nice thing about a sport like boxing or combat sports. It really shows the truth of a person. It shows who they are. It exposes who that real person is when things get difficult, whether they check out or they're there to fight. If it's easy, it's always easy to be involved and have a go and, you know, brag about how much of a beast you are when it's easy. When it's tough and your back's against the wall, deep waters, it's starting to get really dark. Then we see who you are as an individual. Then we see whether that tough background that you come from, if that motivation helps you, or if, like I said, if it's in you, it's in you. If it's not, it's not. You got it or you don't. Simple as that.
And I think that's also maybe what separates combat sport from any other sport. That fight and flight response. With combat, it's literal fight.
Yeah.
Like let's say it's running or athletics or anything, you're fighting against your desire to quit, and you are obviously fighting against your body, but you're not as much fighting against an opponent.
Yeah.
Whereas when you're boxing, your body is fatigued, your heart is pumping like crazy, the same way it would in any other sport.
Sure,
but now you've got someone making it even worse.
Yeah. Well, you've got someone, you know, standing across from you that wants to take your head off. He wants to hurt you. And that's, you know, that's not taken away from any other sport. I mean, I've got mad sports for respect for any sport. I mean, it's all difficult. Same as some person who does football can't box. I can't play football like that. It's just, you know, like I said, we all built differently. But when you got an individual standing in front of you, you can see it in his eyes. He wants to hurt you. It's quite an intimidating thing. I'll be very honest with you. Obviously, as time goes by, you get used to it. You have the same mentality as well, which makes it manageable. But yeah, with all the different variables, the one thing that stays the same is you've got someone in front of you all the time. While you're getting fatigued and you're getting tired and it's getting hard for you, he could be feeling fine and fresh and upping the pace or going through the gears and starting to, as we say, take you in deep waters and drown you, or it can be the other way around. That's the beautiful thing with boxing is it always changes. There's so many factors that you have to take into consideration. But again, when you got someone standing in front of you, it becomes a different ball game, especially when you're trying to take your head off.
So I had an actor on the other day, and I was chatting to him about, you know, putting himself in that role and, you know, the thought processes he has to go through to put himself in that position. Let's say he's playing a murderer.
Yeah.
He has to dig into himself to find personality traits
Sure.
of a murderer or someone that could commit a crime similar, to obviously be able to better portray that character.
Like that's such an extreme thing to have to do.
I had to do relatively the same thing sort of for my fight. So the guy I was fighting, I had no aggression towards him. I had no anger. I had nothing, you know. He could have been, I would have as much anger to him being a random person as if I had to fight my brother,
Sure,
you know.
of
So
course.
I had to dig into myself to find parts of myself that would be more aggressive and would be more assertive and would, you know, have more of that fight instinct. And I found parts of myself that I was actually like, I don't like these parts of myself.
Yeah, you learn new things about yourself.
That's what I want to ask you. Is like, has there been times where you had to dig deep and find those parts of you and have to bring them out? And sometimes you're like, you actually don't like that. So after the fight, you have to take it down a little bit, or how do you manage that?
To be honest with you, bro, I have had to dig deep many times in many fights, whether it was just a physically demanding fight or I've been put on my ass, you know, been put on my back and I'm looking at the lights and everything spinning. I mean, I'm still young and I'm still young in the game, but I feel like I've experienced quite a lot of things, which has given me valuable experience. And it happens naturally. It's not that I have to tap into another personality or anything like that. I'm lucky enough that it's natural. It's just come naturally. I mean, I've been down many times in my career with hard shots that I shouldn't have come back from. And I've just naturally gotten back up and I've fought on and I've carried on. And it's not that I'm digging into or tapping into a side of me that's, okay, now I've got hate in my heart or I've got this newfound aggression. It's just come naturally. I mean, early on in my career, I got dropped twice in the third round. I came back and I stopped him in the very same round. And then it happened again a couple of fights ago as well against a big hitter, heavy-handed guy, put me on my ass 3 times and had me dancing all over the ring, and I for sure thought it was over. But there's something that happens when you just keep persisting, and there's that there's that silver lining where you find a balance where you can stay in it. So I've had to dig deep, and it's natural. I feel like in those instances, that's where who I am as an individual really comes to light. You can't pretend there. You can't hide. You can't run away. You can't talk your way out of it. It's real and raw, and you've got no choice but to show who you are, whether you stay down, where that fight or flight kicks in, or you get up and you fight on. So for me, it's just a natural thing. It's almost like a blur. It's almost like I got no control. I can't explain to you how it happens. It's not like I'm consciously thinking, okay, now I need to have this aggression come out of me now. It's all or nothing. It's just, okay. I promise you, there's certain times that one fight, a guy I fought against, heavy-handed guy, Ndumbasi, a very strong fighter, great fighter, put me on my back. I think it was in the 4th round. Put me down hard. And I got up, and it's not like, I don't even remember it. I remember being paralyzed. It felt like I was paralyzed. I couldn't get up. I could not move my body. How I made the 10 count, I don't even know. That's why I say it naturally just happens. It's like I'm up all of a sudden. From feeling like I couldn't get up to the next minute, okay, I'm up, I'm standing. Now what? And then autopilot. That's why often fights like that for me, I don't remember. It's almost a bit of a blur. So like I said again, it's not that I have to dig deep and find that, like the actor here, to try and channel something, because it's not there. It's like I said, you can't lie, it's there. So yeah, certain situations like that, bro, again, I keep saying it, it's either in you or it's not. I mean, for me personally, I don't need to tap into someone else or channel something that doesn't exist. I am who I am. And like I say, in those certain instances and situations like that, the truth comes out. Your reality and who you are will be shown in that situation.
What is it about boxing for you that is most appealing?
Sure, bro. Everything, to be honest with you. I mean, I love the sport wholeheartedly all around. It's not because I want to be a killer and I want to be this person that, hurts people. I love, like someone loves soccer or rugby or cricket. I love boxing. I love the art of boxing. I respect and love all forms of martial arts, but boxing is just something that I believe I was born to do. I love every aspect from it, from the training, the dieting. I mean, it gets hard. I mean, of all people, you should know about the dieting, but everything about boxing, the build up to a fight, the weigh-ins, the energy, the feeling of walking out to a fight, especially when all your supporters are cheering for you, and the feeling of victory of all your hard work paying off. I love every aspect of it. Even getting hit, it sounds quite odd to say this, but I get a rush and I get a buzz when I get caught with a good shot. That adrenaline surges through me, and I was like, we're in this now. Now we're going to throw down. So there's nothing that I love more than the other. I love it all wholeheartedly together.
And some of the, more difficult situations you've been in because of boxing, how have those, almost gone into your daily life,
Yeah, all of it. And it's not just boxing, actually. It's the people that I surround myself with and where I train. For example, I train at Performance Purist. I do my strength and conditioning under Josh, Josh. And being in that environment and being put through the trenches to get ready for fights has actually made me tougher and more resilient as an individual, where things that would bother me in life and bring me some sort of uncomfortable feeling doesn't happen anymore. I look at life in a different perspective. I tackle things very differently, and in turn has actually helped me with my boxing career. If I can deal with dark and deep waters in that gym when Coach Josh is pushing me to my absolute limit and beyond, there's no way that individual standing in front of me in that ring can push me that hard. Do you know what I'm saying? So it's all a collective thing. It's not just boxing. It's that environment, and then also being around the people that I've got around me, also hard, tough men that also have no quit in them. They also tackle life head on, don't run away, don't try and talk their way out of things and, try and lie to people and da-da-da-da-da. That all collectively helps me change my perspective on things and tackle things differently in life. And it changes every day, changes all the time. So it's not just boxing. Obviously, boxing has given me a confidence right from when I started that if I didn't box, I don't think I would have it. So I'm definitely grateful for that, without a doubt. Boxing's definitely given me that courage, given me that strength. But like I said, it's a collective effort from everybody around me, not just boxing.
So you have that, that fight instinct in you. You say, you felt like you were born to box. Things like getting hit. Has that something that gets easier as a professional over time? Obviously it does, but was it a lengthy process? Was it, because obviously when you're in the fight, it is still different to getting hit outside of the ring.
Yeah.
But has that been something that has developed and gotten easier? Like, let's say I had to punch you right now in the face, zero adrenaline, any of that. Do you feel like you would be able to take it easier than if you had never done boxing? Because for me, if I semi-answer the question for myself, is obviously I only had 12 weeks of training. So it's obviously, it doesn't even really matter, 12 weeks in terms of boxing.
Sure.
Career.
I get you.
So for me, it never got easy in that 12-week period. Obviously, you become more accustomed to the feeling, so you get used to the feeling. But how have you developed in terms of just taking hits, maybe compare inside of the ring to outside of the ring? Like, would there be a difference?
Look, I think every fighter is different. Me personally, I don't even remember, to be honest. I can't remember a time of where it was really, really terrible to get hit and then it was fine. I've just got no problem with it. I think it's just because I've accepted it. It's a thing that's always going to happen. I'm going to get hit. Obviously, the example you just used, that's a completely different experience. But again, fight or flight would kick in. I've done this so long and I do this every day of my life where it's second nature on how to handle it. Some fighters hit extremely hard for their division, for their weight, and some guys don't. It's all different. It's just you accept it. I've been hit by many different fighters, some that are quicker, some that are heavier handed, some that have timing that's so much better than others, which means their power feels different. It's all different. And I register that. I'll get cracked by different fighters and I'm like, ooh, okay, guy's heavy handed. But then you switch into second gear and you kind of don't even think about it anymore. You autopilot. You do what you've trained so long to do and that you've worked so hard to do with your trainers and so on and so on, where it doesn't really make huge difference. You accept it. It's, for me personally, I don't know about any other fighter. Obviously, I can't speak on their behalf, but it's as easy as walking or driving. It's something that you just do. Subconsciously, it is what it is. The only thing that I really pay attention to in fights, other than getting hit, because I feel like it has gotten easier. Why wouldn't it? Spending time doing it. It sounds a bit odd when you say that. I've gotten used to being punched in the face.
But also the cartilage
you build up that tolerance.
Yeah.
That's the best way I can explain. You build up a certain tolerance.
Yeah, not just how it feels.
Yeah.
Well, internally to be hit, emotionally, mentally, or whatever.
Yeah.
But your nose gets stronger, your jaw gets stronger. Everything will get slightly stronger.
Yes and no. I think actually the more you get hit, specifically in the jaw, if you're taking too much punishment, you're going to compromise yourself. Eventually, that jaw's not going to hold up. Fighters that are known to be cast iron chins early on in their career find themselves getting switched off by stupid punches because you can't withstand that for such a long time. Eventually, you're going to start compromising yourself. And, so I don't think so. Again, I think it's just a mental and emotional thing, to be honest with you. You can train certain aspects to take a punch better, i.e. your neck, doing, neck exercises, jaw exercises. I've seen some fighters where what they'll do is they'll wrap a towel around a kettlebell. I've done it sometimes. And you bite onto the kettlebell and you do neck raises to obviously hold the jaw in, strengthen your neck up. So we're all different, I suppose. But bottom line is you can't really get stronger and stronger and stronger. It kind of gets weaker the more you take punishment. That's why they say the boxing, the name of the game is hit and not get hit. Obviously, you don't want to get hit, but it's more of an mental and emotional thing where you get cracked. It's okay, because you got a job to do. You got someone in front of you where you can't worry about just getting hit now. You got to carry on. So I think obviously with that factor being involved, you get used to it, you accept it, and you move on. Body shots, however, are a completely different ball game altogether. I don't believe you can necessarily get used to those. If a body shot is in the right placement, you can do all the crunches and ab workouts and be extremely strong in the core. If you get caught with a good body shot, it's tickets. Unfortunately, it's game over. And I've been there as a fighter. I'd rather take a shot to the chin than a body any day of the week. So yeah, there's a bit of a, you get used to it, you maybe get stronger and whatever. But again, I think it just comes down to a mental and emotional thing.
I haven't seen all your fights, but have you been dropped with a body shot?
Yeah. I have. And in sparring. A lot of people don't know what goes on behind closed doors in sparring and stuff like that. Fighters typically, we don't show those type of things just because it's not about that we want to hide it and lie. It's just obviously we don't want our opponents seeing that and taking advantage and stuff like that and, eyeing that out. But yeah, I've been dropped to the body many times. I've been staggered. I've been wobbled. I've experienced it all. And it's part of the sport. It's what makes the sport so beautiful. I lost a fight, a very, very important fight at the time. We competed in something called the Super 4, where it was the 4 best junior middleweights in South Africa going head to head to obviously see who number one is. And Boyd Allen was in it, another youngster. I don't think he boxes anymore, and a guy called Brandon Taser, my toughest fight to date. When going through that fight, feeling good, feeling comfortable, I'm winning, surprising because he's a great fighter. I'm like, this is, okay, I'm doing quite well, yeah. Winning quite a few rounds, and then out of nowhere, 7th round, I throw a lazy jab. The fatigue started setting in, threw a lazy jab, dipped under, beautiful shot to the solar plexus. Now, I don't know if you've been hit to the solar plexus when you winded yourself as a kid. There is nothing more excruciating than that. Yeah.
Isn't that how Davis dropped Garcia?
He hit him. Similar.
Like
He was around the short rib.
Yeah, like the intercostals.
I took one straight through to the solar plexus and took the wind right out of me. And it's always delayed. Like you always think you take and you get like a bit worried because you're like, that was a big body shot. You think, oh no, I'm fine. And then 3 seconds later, it's like stage 5 load shedding off. You're down on the ground sitting, like trying to breathe, trying to stop yourself from dying. You feel like you're going to die. And I got back up, but once that body shot landed, I was compromised. That body's never going to be the same. When you get caught with good body shots, it takes so long to recover. Caught me with a brilliant body shot, and then I got up, and as always, I charge forward and I carry on fighting, and I try and, keep him off me and show him that I'm not hurt. Meantime, I am hurt. And he timed it perfectly. Boom, another body shot, down again. I'm like, again. Now I know there was still a lot of time left in the round, so I'm thinking to myself, how am I going to get out of this round? How am I going to survive? Because if I run away, he's going to hunt me down, probably maybe stop me with a big shot to the chin, trying to protect my body or something. So I'm like, let me press him again. Press him, try and make him uncomfortable, and he timed it beautifully. Boom, a third one. And then obviously in boxing, you get the three knockdown rule in certain rule sets, and waved it off. So I've lost to a body shot in a fight before. Actually, I rematched him, when was it, last year, I think. And again, went straight to the body. Obviously, knowing from what happened in the last fight, went straight to the body. But you were prepared for that? I was prepared for it also more physically. I was prepared mentally more than anything to take it. So like I said, like we just said, it's a mental and an emotional thing. But yeah, I've eaten plenty of body shots. There's nothing worse than a body shot, especially when you're feeling good, you're cooking, everything's going great, and then that all gets stopped in a hot second with a body shot. There's nothing more debilitating than a body shot. So it's all emotionally and mental how you take those things.
Well, I mean, people say golf is a mental sport. Boxing is equally.
Yeah.
That BMT, that ability to be hit and not let it affect your skill and your ability, and not let it to just put you off the map,
Yeah, I mean, you from your boxing experience, like you said, it wasn't a long time, but you had to have that. You get cracked, you try your best not to show them. Sometimes you can't help it because it's a heavy shot.
My first sparring session, I tried my best to be a man, but I just couldn't.
Listen, when you're putting yourself in such an extreme environment like that, and that's the first time you've been hit, you don't know how to deal with it. You know what to expect, and it's quite a shock. I remember as a kid, the first time I ever got punched, I was 9 years old. When I first went to the boxing gym, and I got popped with this jab from this little kid. In my head, I checked the roof, and I came back down, and the kid was gone. Eyes were watering, and it wasn't the pain, it was the sheer shock of being hit. I actually started crying. I think I was 8 or something like that I started crying. And it's like when I think of how emotional that made me and how much of a mental battle that was, getting punched just by a little jab from this little kid, to now being hit all over the show from pillar to post, all shades of, knocked out of me. You like you say, you get used to it. It's a weird thing, bro. It's odd. Nobody's actually ever asked me like that before. I've never had to think about it like that. It's just, you go on, you roll with the punches, as they say.
It's part of the game.
Part of the game, bro. Yeah, part of the game.
And are you looking at potentially ever moving up a division? Have you, because you did put quite a bit of size on, I think it was last year.
Yeah, I do think I'll go up a few divisions. There's obviously certain times when that's called for. Now is not the right time. I've worked my way into a beautiful position right now where my ranking in the world is quite high. So to move up a division and kind of have to
put yourself back down.
Yeah, it's not worth it. I'd rather bite the bullet, struggle to diet and whatever, work my ass off to make the weight. I make the weight, no problem. So there's no reason to
What's
move
the
up.
fighting weight?
My fighting weight is 69.85. That's the limit. So 154 pounds.
And like walking around?
I walk around easily 82, 83 kilos. Sometimes I get heavier. But that's obviously from eating rubbish and not training, which I don't do anymore. The most I'll go up to is like 82. Then I'll, bring it back down to about 80 kilos, 81 kilos. And then I'm still, before I would be, at that weight I'd be fat. Now I'm a little bit more beefier. Josh had put some muscle on me. I'm a full-fledged super welterweight now, whereas before I was far too small for the division. We didn't know any better, the team that I was with, so we just cracked on, right? Now, obviously, being behind Josh and his system, we got a beautiful system that's in place. We trust it, we stick to it, and it works. If I can still make the division, I stay in the division. Until I can't make the weight and it's a real problem, then I'll move up. I think I'll finish my career at maybe super middleweight, which is, I think like, what is that? 76 kilos, that's the limit. So it's quite a big difference. And keep in mind, people are cutting to that division. So as much as I'm cutting,
they're doing the same.
They are doing the same thing. So you don't want to move up a division and be small again. You want to have a presence in that ring.
You always want to cut down. You don't want to basically be cruising at the fighting weight.
Yeah. Well, look, some guys do cruise at their fighting weight and it makes them a lot better. I've never done that.
I think it's all relative, because if you can stay at the same weight, you can always be training at that weight, so you'll become more accustomed to fighting at that weight. 100%. Whereas you dropping down, you maybe had to do water drops and all of that stuff, and you're still affected from the cut you did 2 days ago, and it's still more difficult for you. But I think it's all relative sometimes.
Yeah, for sure. Look, I've got a beautiful setup in place. Phenomenal coaching, phenomenal team. Josh handles my weight cuts, and I trust the process. I put all my trust in him, and we haven't had a hiccup yet. So we got a great system in place. I mean, I've had some big weight cuts, but you crack on and you do what you need to do. I can't lie, they haven't been easy. Josh has had to have a word with me while I'm cutting weight to shut up and man up kind of thing. It's a difficult thing when you're cutting weight. I don't wish it on anybody.
That's the thing. You can go 12 rounds and that's no problem. But tell me to not have a donut.
Bro, I can go 12 rounds and I've got no issue with being smashed from pillar to post because I know I'll give it back. But put me through a weight cut, bro, I get really soft. I become like Play-Doh, bro. It's I have to have Josh the whole time, bro, what are you talking about? It's not that hard. Meantime, I'm like, I'm dying. Meantime, I'm fine. For me, that's my thing. But I crack on, I make the weight, and we rehydrate. Luckily, we have quite a bit of time to rehydrate. So by the time I walk into the ring quite a bit heavier.
Almost like what you're walking around as.
100%. And again, just as we cut it, there's a system cutting it, there's a system putting it back on in the time frame that we do. So I walk into the ring feeling strong, feeling even better actually. So I've got no issues with it. I will move up, but not right now. Not right now.
And what is coming up now? What's on the cards for you?
Next fight's actually August 19th. Nice international bout against an American. So I'm looking forward to that. Excited to get to crack on.
Is that an international fight here or there?
Yeah. So we fighting at Empress Palace. That's the new home. So we got a nice plan in place. My promoter Rodney Berman from Golden Gloves and my manager, they got a nice plan. Obviously want to make me world champion, so we have to work towards that. The thing is, there's many different organizations, so the idea is to get quite a good ranking in all of them, so you got options. So for me at the moment, the WBC and the IBO are two good options for me, but we have to trust the process, take our time. I'm still young in the game, I'm still learning, so there's no need to rush or anything like that, one fight at a time. I think in December there could be a big one for me, I'm hoping. I'd like to be a champion. I'd like to end the year off with another belt. I love hardware. I love walking out of that ring with belts. So as long as it's a championship belt, I'm happy. I love championship fights. So just have to trust the process. I did want to become a world champion by the end of this year. Maybe it can happen because there was talks of that. Obviously, nothing's confirmed, but you hear things, you can't really trust it until
something's
it's in
signed.
place. That's exactly it. So it still gives me incentive and it still makes me excited. So hopefully we can end the year off as a world champion, an IBO world champion. That's the goal. If not this year, next year. And then winning that world title will set me up for great fights. And especially in my division, the 154 division, one of the hottest divisions in boxing next to heavyweight. So there's a lot of exciting fights. That's why we have to be so careful and take our time on moving to the top. Like I said, I've got a phenomenal team in place with my boxing coaches, my manager, promoter, Josh. I got a beautiful team in place. So we've got a nice system. We just have to trust the process and work towards certain fights when the timing is right.
Who now within your division that's like one of the top guys, do you see him like, yes, I just wish I could fight this guy?
The top guy in the division at the moment has actually got a twin brother. His twin brother, a guy called the Charlo twins. So one is a middleweight champion and the other one is the super welterweight, my division champion. So those are machines, especially the Eastern Europeans. You got a lot of Eastern Europeans coming through now, Mexicans, of course. The famous Canelo Alvarez, he fought Mayweather at this division. Like the super welterweight division, there's legends that have come from this division. So guys like Charlo, Tim Tszyu, also his father was a legend. Those are hard fights, those are big fights, but what a pleasure it would be to share the ring with them. Regardless of the outcome, make no mistake, I'm going there to get mine. I'm going there to win. I'm not going to go there and celebrate the fact that I got the fight. A lot of people, I feel like they celebrate that they've got the fight. The job hasn't even been done yet. So I understand that, when I do get to that level, and I will get to that level, I believe, the timing will be right. It'll be much better fighter. As you learn every day, you learn constantly. So it'll be perfect timing for me to take those fights where I don't believe I'll lose. We'll go there. I make a good account of myself. I make sure I leave everything in that ring. Guys like Charlo, Tim Tszyu, those guys. Charlo's got all the belts at the moment. He's got all the marbles, so he's the guy to fight. Right now I'm sitting at number 13. And the cool thing is we've had guys from the 147 division below me, welterweight, guys that have grown out and come up to my division now where they were former world champions, great fighters. They are sitting top 10. I'm not too far from fighting them. I could get a call from them just to keep busy next year, take them out, get rid of him. Puts me in a place where people are like, oh, okay, there's a serious contender here. So we're talking in the next 3-4 years, I could fight a guy like Charlo, which is around the corner actually, if you see how quickly time goes by. So those are the guys that, and those are the guys that I looked up to. I used to watch training videos and training motivation and try and implement their style and all of this. And the reality is that it's a possibility to fight them. Sure, that's exciting. And what a pleasure it would be. It's not a burden to share the ring with them. It's not like, oh, I'm fighting this guy. It's like, bring it, let's have a go. I mean, it's a celebration to do what I do. It's not a burden to do the things that I do in the sport and get to those levels. How many people try something and they don't get to the heights that they want to, right? So why would you want to get into this? Because a lot of fighters, I believe, get into the sport, and then when they get to that level, they kind of like buckle because they see they let the pressure consume them. That's not pressure. I don't believe that's pressure. So yeah, hopefully one day I'll fight a guy like Charlo or Tim Tszyu or a guy like Danny Garcia who just moved up from welterweight to junior middleweight. Those fights are like, they're there for the taking. So just have to, like I say, trust the process, see what my management and promoter want to do and keep fighting. Whoever they put in front of me, we deal with one person at a time.
Well, that person you're going to deal with is on 17th of August, eh?
19th of August, yeah. Non-title fight, as it stands. Little bit bummed because, again, I love hardware. I just want to have a huge belt collection. I don't care what belt it is. That's what gets me excited. That's what wakes me up in the morning and trains and, gives me the incentive that I need. So we'll see. It will be a 10-round international. I forgot the fella's name, guy from America. Also, it will be a good fight. And now the cool thing is at this level, any person that I fight, it's not going to be an easy fight, as they say. There's no such thing as an easy fight. So it'll be another barn burner, I believe. I like to come and fight. I like to make fights exciting. So August 19th, I plan on setting some fireworks off at Empress Palace.
Awesome, bro. And we look forward to that. Look forward to following your journey. I've enjoyed it thus far, and to continue to do that. And hopefully in 4 years, we see you taking that number one spot.
Definitely.
Awesome, bro. Well, thank you so much for coming on, bro.
Thanks, bro.
This podcast is sponsored by Dis-Chem Living Fit, with a wide range of health products and supplements tailored to your needs. Whatever your needs are, whatever stage in your health and fitness journey you're in, Dis-Chem Living Fit has the products for you.